Right, let's talk some footy now with Keith Thomas, the Chief Executive of the Port Adelaide Football Club. News that Port is set to play on the Good Friday stage against West Coast next season, and Keith joins us now. Good morning, Keith. Thanks for your time. This is another coup for your football club, another blockbuster match, I guess, to add to your China game and all of the cracking matches that you host at Adelaide Oval.
Well, it is. I've got to say it was a real surprise. I got the notification last night about 7 o'clock. So, and there hadn't been any discussion about it in the lead up. But in the end, we're really pleased with it. It's a great opportunity for our club to play in a standalone game on a really high profile day. So, we're very happy with it.
Just explain for us what playing in that kind of time slot can do for any football club with your sponsorship and your brand recognition and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I think, look, the first thing to acknowledge, for us, is that, we very much respect and understand the significance of the day, and so, great care has to be taken in that regard. But that being said, for a club like Port Adelaide and just about all AFL clubs, the opportunity to shine a spotlight on your club and your brand in isolation is really difficult to achieve unless you're a major Melbourne club, where where from a ratings point of view, it makes great sense for them to be playing in those games regularly. We're one of many that have to actually fight for that opportunity, and so we welcome it. As I said, the China game for us is fantastic. It's one of those moments, and this is another one. So we're very pleased about it.
Keith, David Colbert here. Good morning to you. I'm surprised that you didn't know anything about it. It's fascinating that such a big match you didn't know about. So it would have had some scrambling.
Yes.
Because it's a big weekend, and I would imagine you might have had some other thoughts about what was going to happen. What also fascinates me is that the draw being released has been delayed 24 hours as some fine-tuning occurs. Is Port Adelaide a club that's maybe voiced some concerns about what may or may not have been served up to you for 2019?
No, we haven't. Firstly, we acknowledge it's a really complex thing to put the fixture together. So there's a lot of stakeholders that you need to satisfy and a lot of things that you need to consider. So it's difficult. Now, there's always a little bit of toing and froing that goes on in the days leading up to the release, but as you say, this is a little bit different. It seems to have been a little bit more negotiation going on, but we have not had access to the draw. We've had access to a summary, like an abbreviated summary. It looks pretty good for Port Adelaide, I've got to say, but as I said, we had no visibility of this aspect of it, and I don't know if you know how it works. You just get some top line highlights in the day before, so you get a sense of how it's falling. And as I said, we were quite pleased with that, but obviously there's been a little bit of unrest in some camps, but I don't know. I've got no idea what that relates to.
Is it okay, do you think, for clubs to I guess clubs have to fight their battle and fight in their own interests, but surely at the end of the day, the AFL is trying to put together a draw that pleases everyone, and that's almost impossible. Yeah,
that's really difficult for me to comment on the sort of things that are being discussed because I don't have any visibility on it. But that's certainly our view, is that you get an opportunity to present your priorities, which we all do, weeks out in advance or months, and then you lobby on the way in, and in the end you've got to take the umpire's call, don't you? And so that tends to be our philosophy, and also. We take the view that you have to earn your opportunities, and we've always been in that frame of mind, and so performance generally looks after you, and when you're not necessarily in the finals or whatever, you cop your share.
I think that's how Eddie McQuarie works too. He just takes the umpire's decision and accepts it. The China game up against the Saints. So moving from the Gold Coast Suns to a Melbourne-based club, a bit more visibility in Melbourne, which I dare say won't hurt Port Power as well. How did the negotiations go to get St Kilda to the table?
Well, look, the first thing we had to decide was whether the Gold Coast were in a position to go forward. And once they decided that they weren't, I've been having conversations with several clubs over the last couple of years, and there's been real interest in what we're doing. So people were quite aware of the journey. And then Matt Finnis and I had a more in-depth conversation. What we love about St Kilda is that they've got great, a lot of heritage, which is important in the Chinese market. 1873, we're 1870, formed. They've got 46,000 members plus, so it's a big club. We know that their supporters travel and will get enthusiastic about this game. So, and also it will activate the Melbourne market, which is really positive.
And they need the money.
Well, yeah, I think so. But they're like us. They're looking for different ways to present their club in a really competitive environment. And I applaud them. It's not a simple decision. There's a lot of things to consider. For example, to give you an idea of how seriously they're taking it, I know they've got a delegation going across to Shanghai in the next week or so. As we did in the first stages, to do some reconnaissance on the market, and that's really smart. So, I'm thinking this association. The other important thing for us was they locked in for 3 years. So that starts to give you some real security and longevity in the concept, which I think is really important.
Keith, really appreciate you joining us this morning.